the start of my first year at the Mavericks, all the stakeholders or the key employees of the Mavericks were invited to speak to the commissioner who came and met with, I think it was myself, Coach Carlisle, some of his assistants. And this was the year after the Cavs lost to Golden State, the J.R. Smith moment where J.R. Smith didn't shoot the ball and held it after the missed free throw or whatever.
Yeah, I can only imagine being a gambler on that game, by the way, and watching that happen and just be like...
Well, yeah. Well, what interested me about that was after the fact, the legend was that LeBron punched a blackboard after that game or punched something, a wall, and his shooting hand was injured.
Yeah, he showed up with the air cast.
Right. And so my question was, like, if we're going to do all this talk about, like, if we're going to embrace gambling and talk about gambling, which was kind of like the topic of my questions to him, were just like, how are you going to enforce this? And are you worried at all? And I was kind of like, I don't mean to disparage Adam because I just think he was kind of like, what the is this guy talking about? But he was like very like adamant that what I was saying was absurd. My point was that the Cavaliers knew about this. This was the biggest betting event in the NBA. It's the finals. And only after the fact was it released that LeBron had that. And I get why you would do that, because as a Cleveland Cavaliers coaching staff, you don't want your opponent to know this, because now you can lay off LeBron, you can, guard his drives more, you can not worry about him shooting, all this other stuff. And so my point was just like, hey, if you're going to get in bed with gambling, how are you going to deal with this? Because I promise you, this is affecting the integrity of what you're trying to do. The game, someone has information, and it's one thing to monitor point shaving. It's one thing to monitor this. It's one thing, but that's a big part of it. And so I just brought it up, and I talked about how, because I know actually Casey Smith was in the room also, and he was the Mavs athletic trainer at the time. And Casey was very diligent about the injury report. It was always released at the same amount of time. It was always released with accurate information, et cetera, et cetera. And some teams are not. So my point was there was no standardization between that. And that's something that that could affect the integrity of the game. And so I was just kind of bringing that up and was kind of scoffed at in front of everybody. But then afterwards, I think he did say something to me, and because I was quite adamant. I was like, look, like, the sport isn't as on the up and up as you think it is. Clearly, nothing to do with gambling, but just like someone's going to have that information, and that just doesn't seem right. Like, you're selling to the fans that you're betting on something that is pure, in the sense that they have as much information as they should have. And my point is just the ability to control that information from a gambling standpoint. It's not like stock options, or it's not like there's always going to be insider trading. There's always going to be inside information. There's always going to be some level. But I think they underestimated how pervasive it could be in basketball.